reserving, or I'm, some of the trade ideas to be made at that time when we get deep into the earnings season. But at this particular point in today's webinar, I only have one pick, and that one pick is a stock that you've probably never heard of. It is in transportation sector, and the stock is AAWW. The symbol is AAWW. I think you should buy this. I think you should expect this stock to make a run to new 52-week high, which is above $60 a share. And so that's the pick over here, AAWW. The company's name is Atlas Air Worldwide Holdings. I'm going to give you the trade idea first, and then I will dive into the fundamentals of the story. I want to be positioned for this earning that's going to be coming out on August 2nd before market opens. So that's the first week of August, all right? I want to be positioned for this. So the play here is buy straight August 55 calls, buy straight August 55 calls, call it for $2.70 or less. The bid and ask is quite wide right now. It's $245 to $275. Buy straight August 55 calls for $2.70 or less. These are almost right at the money because they carry a pretty good delta of 0.51. So the stock is trading as 54.55 right now, and these are August 55 strike calls. Buy straight August 55 calls for $2.70 or less. All right, and so that's the play. And now let's dive into why I like this particular story. All right, Atlas Air Worldwide, if you have never heard of the company, this is essentially an air freight and logistics company, mostly on the international routes. So air freight forwarding agents, and so a lot of the import-export driven kind of a business on the international waters. So it's basically a transportation and logistics company, mostly air freight, but it is primarily driven by charters of ships in the airs that happen on the coastal side, so all the international traffic and all that. It's a small cap, $1.3 billion market cap, and based on my reading that came from two different sources in the last couple of weeks, the channel checks for this company and the dynamics of what's happening in the international air freight and logistics market are coming out extremely strong, and I think that will be pretty beneficial for the company, and I think that's going to translate into pretty good upside in the stock when it reports earnings. From the technical side, this sell-off right here, because this is highly cyclical business, as we know, right? This is transportation, this is air freight, logistics, and whatnot. So this is a pretty this sell-off that you saw right here. It was on its way to breakout, but this sell-off that you saw right here in May was largely driven by slightly a deceleration in the macro data that we saw. Remember, there was a little bit of a discussion that maybe trucking pricing power was coming out a little bit strong. There was some discussion on the PMIs coming down, the ISMs coming down. So I think a lot of this was driven by simple concern that the headline macro data had softened, because I went back and I checked a lot of sources and I can't seem to find any material justification for that sell-off rather than just a big macro level case. But I think that softness is now behind us. I think we're starting to see some acceleration again, and the stock is going to break out. So from the technical side of the things, this is now making higher highs and higher lows. The volume behind it is to go from here to here. And Friday was a power candle. Friday was an impressive, not Friday, sorry, Monday, which was a half day. It was a power candle. It was a beautiful breakout. And you can see that there's a beautiful rally behind this. And considering it was only half day, the market closed at 1 o'clock. This was pretty good. This was a very impressive rally because the volume was actually above average on half day, and so I think that gets my attention. I think that this has power behind this, and I think this can carry this all the way to new 52-week high. So from a daily chart, if it starts to finally, if you ignore this downdraft, if you ignore this, call this basically nothing more than just just a a corrective phase of that basically threw people off the board with outlying price action. So if you basically look at this as a larger 6 month, 7 month long consolidation pattern, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months of consolidation pattern, you go back to the weekly chart, you'll see that this is what I'm talking about. I think it goes with the MACD on the weekly chart is starting to turn higher. The RSI is going to start showing the bullish cross, and look at the volume profile on this going all the way from here. Huge volume profile, hammer reversal from here, and it's been extremely high volume every single week for several months. I think it goes higher. It takes 60 out. It takes these prior all-time highs from here, and then it continues to march higher from here. Go back to weekly chart, actually go back to monthly chart, you'll see how important these levels are. If we start to leave behind all this congestion area around 58, 59, 60 level, this could be on its way all the way to, to challenge all, way back, from 2011, or actually from 2012, so from 5 years ago, previous all-time highs going back to $73 a level. But we'll see, one step at a time. We'll see if it has the power behind this to go from 55 all the way to 70. But for now, my first target is basically retest of these 60 levels, and then we'll see if the earnings are strong enough to actually continue to put the momentum behind it and continue to rally. So that's the technical, larger picture behind this. On the fundamental side of things, a couple of things I want to mention. So here is there's a file from Stifel that came out on June 27th, which was last week. And so what day it was? It was Tuesday of last week. And in that file, here is a comment. There's two pictures from there that caught my attention. And it says, air freight volumes and yields continue to climb. Asia exports lead the way. Remember, these are exactly the kind of mid-quarter checks that I always pay attention to. I don't really care. A lot of the times when I read these analyst reports about what their personal thoughts are, about what their estimates are, what the PE ratios are, or even what their consensus estimates are, what the earnings will be. My focus has always been, show me the trend, show me anything that gives me confidence about mid-quarter checks that the company is on a good path and should report a very good quarter. Well, this is just yet another one of those examples of what I basically focus on. So air freight volumes and yields continue to climb. Asia exports lead the way. This is the quarterly update. And basically they say that we focus on air freight as it has been the strongest mode in transportation for nearly a year now. And we believe its strength continues through year end. And then there's a point. From recent conversations with industry insiders, and in reading various air cargo trade rags, it appears that both volumes and yields continue to rise into the end of second quarter. And there are concerns about capacity rates for peak season ahead. They're saying that based on their conversations from insiders and various air cargo trade rags, that second quarter continues to be extremely strong, volumes are strong, yields are strong, and in fact so strong that they believe that we may run into capacity concerns by the end of the year. If that happens, that you could see the rates that these charter air freight operators charge, it could really dramatically increase the pricing by the end of the year. So that would be on top of anything that we have seen in the past. It could be fundamentally, incrementally very, very bullish. And it basically goes on to say the same thing. Because if you have rates rising, what should be the easy translation of that? Well, if you have rates rising, it should translate into really, really robust margin expansion, right? But that's exactly what Stifel is saying here as well. We believe this represents a mixed bag for the forwarders as rising yields may pinch near to margins while setting them up for margin expansion again once yields level off. So here's the basically larger. And then this is where I basically got the pick. In this case, they say, we believe the biggest beneficiary from the strong international air freight market in second quarter 2017 should be Atlas Air due to its charter fleet of freighters. There you go. That's exactly how I picked out the stock. I didn't put it out of the thin air. I was reading this research report and it caught my attention. I'm like, you know what? Stifel is onto something here, and I like the read of this. Okay, so why not? So that led me to this channel checks, which also comes from Stifel, and they also came last week. And here you will see a bunch of three different price points, three different channel checks to basically confirm what they just said. Air freight continued its run strength into Q1 as the public forwarder saw 12% tonnage growth. We believe second quarter growth rate should be similar before they start to step down or basically benefit. And then lastly, in this one, it says second quarter growth remains strong as global air freight demand is up double-digit percentage and accelerated from April to May. Boom. This is the kind of line that I pay attention to. According to the AAPA, Association Asia Pacific Airlines, reported a 12.2% year-over-year increase in May volume along the 4.7% increase in freight load factor. So you have more volume and the load factor is increasing and the freight capacity is increasing by 4.3% and it continues to march higher. The key here is that this thing accelerated from April to May, which means the second quarter is not only just strong, it is showing sequential improvement as the second quarter has been progressing. So that's a perfect setup for Q2 earnings beat and raise in my view. And the last thing is that ocean container volumes moved by public forwarders in the first quarter rose 7.2% year over year. By the way, some of these stocks that I brought on one trade idea with me, which we're discussing right here, AAWW. But another stock that I believe is going to be pretty significant beneficiary of all of these things that we have discussed. I'm stepping ahead of me right now, but all of these checks that are right in front of you, you can write this down, and if you want, you might as well just go ahead and make a play on this. I might as well just made a 2 trade ideas instead of 1. But see this right here, C.H. Robinson right here. That's also one of the major beneficiaries of the same exact channel checks, just like AAWW is. And remember, in CHRW, we saw a bullish risk reversal bought not too long ago, although it was driven by M&A discussion. So here is the activity tracker. If you just go in and type CHRW, you're going to see back on June 16, they sold August 60 puts to buy August 80 calls. So this was a bullish risk reversal. And prior to that, one day before that, on June 15, they bought 5,000 of July 70 calls for $1.40. So just wanted to bring that because I could make just as easily the same case on CHRW, which has been coming down and down, but that's how a lot of other trucking stocks works. Remember when we were buying JBHT, nobody wanted to touch the stock because it was down, 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 down. But we started recommending buying call options on JB Hunt because the checks were coming out extremely strong. Well, the similar case is present in CHRW as well, and we'll see if the M&A can give it a further push. But just wanted to touch on this real quick. Today it's down a little bit, but this thing is trying to break out through the $70 resistance, and if it does break out through the $70 resistance, you could see this basically break out from this and make a run all the way to this level, which is $72, almost call it $73 essentially. I'm going to put this actually right here. So $73.45. So that's essentially from here to here. Going from here to here, that's about $5 of upside. And earnings are going to be coming out before July expiration. Earnings are on July 20th. That's before July expiration. And if you go to CHRW website option chain, you're going to see these 5,000 contracts that are sitting in July 70 calls, which are also almost in the at the money as well, with stock trading at 69.10. They bought these calls for $1.40. It was approximately $700,000 bullish bet that remains in the open interest, and earnings are going to be, and this will cover earnings, which are going to be on July 20th. So if this thing breaks out, there could be as much as 5% to the upside all the way to 73.50. So keep this one in mind. MACD is powering higher, RSI is moving higher, making higher highs and higher lows. So the same exact channel checks that I'm discussing over here, which that are in relation to AAWW, the same exact channel checks also apply to CHRW AAWW as well, so CH Robinson. So, all right, okay. Go back to AAWW. So that's the trade. I believe that this is heading towards, gradually heading towards a new 52-week high. Beautiful power candle behind us on Monday when we were not here. We took the day off. And my MACD RSI is probably higher. Does not see a lot of option activity, so I'm just simply going with my fundamental bull case over here, and that's why the play is buy straight August 55 calls and just let it run. All right, sorry, just one trade this time. We'll have a lot more as we get deep into the earnings season, and also we're going to at that time switch from doing webinars from once a week to twice a week. With that said, Avo, let's open for questions.
All right, Fahad. I was just looking at the trade you recommended, and
Oh, by
it's
the way, sorry, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Apologize to stop you. You know, I mentioned earlier that there were two checks. I just want to mention one thing because I'm going to pass these files around. Here is, by the way, June 5th. This is the another spot where I basically got the note. This one came from Seaport Global, which is an international what's it called? A lot of the international stocks are covered by this particular company, and they have quite a big, quite an impressive presence of looking at what's happening in the international travel routes, and also they get pretty good channel checks that are sometimes hard to find inside the United States. So Seaport Global, I've noticed a couple times, the research report touches upon those quite a bit. I just want to mention that this is the chart that basically caught attention from me. This is what I'm talking about: ACI International Cargo Volume Growth. So this came out on June 5th, right here. And then June 27 is when the Stifel note came out. Both are talking about exactly the same thing. You can see this sharp uptick that we're talking about. That's what I'm talking about. International cargo volume is coming out extremely strong. They discussed this over here. And then this file came one day later. This was on June 6th, also from Seaport. And in this case, they say the same thing. HACTL volumes remain strong through May. The air freight recovery is underway. And it goes on to show Hong Kong air cargo terminal export volumes remain strong, increasing 27.4% in May and bringing year-to-date growth to 21%. I mean, I don't know how you don't necessarily see, any kind of what's it called, this kind of growth. It's hard to find on a cyclical sector like a transportation sector. And so here you go. They're talking about, because same thing as Stifel said, it's the Asian side of the economy that is driving these volumes higher. And that's exactly what Seaport Global is also mentioning. So Hong Kong Air Cargo Terminal HACTL export volume, 27%. That chart tells you the big uptick, the big acceleration that we saw from April to May, which is exactly what Stifel discussed. And in this case, while Stifel has their top pick as AAWW, in Seaport, they believe that our favorite ways to play this strength is ATSG and AAW. And so, but then there also goes to say that, but these figures are also favorable for the integrators such as FedEx and UPS, and so on and so on. So ATSG and AAWW, these are the favorite plays of Seaport Global. So I'm going to pass these to file around so you have them. And meanwhile, I haven't taken a look at this, but here's the ATSG chart. So this might be the next one as well. I got to keep an eye on this one as well because Seaport talked about this. So we'll see. This had a fantastic quarter, I see, but I need to research a little bit more on this. This could be on its way as well. Take a new leg higher from here. Anyways, now go ahead. I was sorry about that. Take it from here.